What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get into a brand new episode, breakdown of Tyler Perry's Bruh. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit in it that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 4, episode number 1, titled A Fresh Start. Now the synopsis states, Pamela worries Mike will face temptation when he's with his friends, and Regina disrupts Bill's plans when she shows up with unexpected news. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, y'all, so we kicked this episode off with the fellas getting ready to meet up for the night. Each of them are doing different things to get ready. Some are working out, some of them are drinking. Whatever they need to do to get ready for tonight, that's what they're doing, right? So, as usual, we're seeing John going through what he goes through with his moms or whatnot. She's literally bursting into the bathroom and forcing this brother to leave. And I'm like, what in the world? So, from there, we go over to Mike's crib where we see him back at home. He's been in, rehab for the last 3 weeks or whatnot. He's finally came back home and, he's having a conversation with his girl, Pam, about going out with the fellas tonight. So Pam tells him that it's cool that he wants to go out with his boys. She's just concerned and wants him to be safe. But with that being said, she also doesn't understand why they're choosing to go to the lounge and hang out due to the fact, he is coming in from rehab or whatnot. So she really doesn't want him to relapse. So whatever he needs to do to stay out of that predicament, that's what she wants for him, right? So he tells her, like, what else do you want us to do? Do you want us to get some cardboard paper or whatever and, make some spaceships or whatnot, go to the playground like we grown men over here, right? So now Pam is like, okay, well, just let me know when you get back to the crib or whatnot. So he's up there eating his little food or whatnot on that little plate or whatnot. And he's like, I got an idea. Why don't you come along with me? And now Pam is sitting over here like, what? Like, go out with you and your boys to the lounge? And she was like, no, absolutely not. But then he goes on to tell her that she's like one of the boys or whatnot. So he's kissing her on top of her chest or whatnot. And she's looking down at him like, oh, so you do this with the fellas? And he was like, look, no, you already know I don't get down like that. But you know what I mean when I say you like one of my people. So anyhow, he was like, please come on out with us or whatnot. And I'm sitting over here like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, I understand you trying to get in good with your girl, but this is your boys' night. Either you going to commit with going out with your boys or you going to stay at home. Like, you can't do both. You can't mix water and vinegar. I'm just saying, look, if I'm going to be with my lady, I'm going to be with my lady. I ain't going to bring her around the fellas. You see what I'm saying? This isn't that type of environment. So anyhow, since we're talking about environment, we head over to the lounge where we see Tom, Bill, and John. So as usual, John is ready to let everybody know that he's ready to get on it. But Tom informs him that he needs to slow his roll. Definitely with old girl around here working at the bar or whatnot. And, John feels confident right now. He's telling him like, bruh, I ain't worried about her. I ain't running from nobody. It just so happens that tonight is her night off, talking about Lydia. And I was like, bruh, I know you're not running away from this woman. Now, she a little psychotic. She's pretty. You know what I'm saying? She's a beautiful woman, but she got something wrong with her. I don't know what it is. That little tick is off. I don't know what it is. But anyhow, to be honest though, those be the women. Those be the ones that be having that fire, as Ricky Smiley say. Those be the ones with the fire. The one that got a little tick with them. Those be the ones, man. But anyhow, getting back to the story. So, as they're sitting down with their drinks and whatnot, John is like, where in the heck is Mike? Like, he's seriously on some CP time right now. They just don't know that he's bringing a +1. So, as they're conversing and whatnot, Bill says something that stirs something up in Tom. Now, Tom, for me, has always been, he's one of those individuals that always bring up something that doesn't need to be brought up. So does John. But Tom rubs me the wrong way for whatever reason. Like, don't bring up my dirt. Like, you already know that I'm dealing with something, but yet and still you want to bring it up. Because now you got John over here talking about, look, bro, we already know you're going through something with Regina. We don't even have to hear nothing about that. Woo, woo, woo. But Tom's sitting over here on the side being real messy right now, talking about, no, we're not talking about Regina. So now John is sitting over here looking directly at Bill like, what are we talking about then? If we're not talking about Regina, then who we talking about? And now Bill is forced to, convey a little bit of something that he really didn't want to talk about. But just in the nick of time, here comes Mike with his +1. And of course, the energy, the vibe in the room is crazy because here comes Mike. Here comes Pam, and she's hugging everybody. Everybody's giving hugs except for Bill. And of course, you could tell the tension. And we already know what it is if you watch this show. They're not feeling one another because of the way that, the whole situation with Regina and all of that good stuff. We can talk about that. But right now, we're going to talk about what's going on right now. So long story short, Regina decides Pam decides not to stay, right? Because she makes an excuse that, look, I have a long day tomorrow. I told you earlier that I have all of these clients to meet with. Whoa. But in reality, she really doesn't want to be around Bill. She does not want to be around him, and you can already tell that he doesn't want to be around her, because as she's leaving the room, Bill tells her to have a nice day. She was like, tell that to Regina. And I'm like, dang, man, like, why can't we just get along, right? So anyhow, from there, we head over to see Pam, who's waiting at this restaurant for Regina. So as Regina is coming in, she's sitting down. She wants to know if, Pam has seen Bill over at the lounge or whatnot. Now, Pam is like, okay, really, Regina? Is this what we're going to talk about? Regina tells her that she's just asking a question, and it doesn't hurt anybody to ask a daggone question. But Pam feels differently about that, because she feels that if you're asking those questions, you're obviously not over that individual, and that's not the conversation she wants to have. So, of course, Regina's like, so are we still talking about me and Bill, or are you talking about you and Mike? Now, Pam conveys to her that she and Mike are cool. Like, everything is good. We're getting better. But at this moment in time, she feels like something is missing from the equation. She can't place her finger on it. And it's not due to the overdose or nothing like that. It's just something that she's not receiving from Mike. And hopefully they'll figure out what that is. Or she figures out what that is, right? So from there, we now head back over to the lounge where we see the fellas enjoying themselves in conversation when Tom is, asking Mike what are the laws about, restraining orders or whatnot, because he's noticing John over here eyeing down this woman at the bar. So, of course, John is like, look, bro, why are you bothering me? Because I'm over here enjoying myself. I'm focused. All right, why are you bothering me? So Bill is like, look, man, why don't you go on over there and do what you need to do? So Mike suggests that John, plays the alley-oop game, pretty much suggesting that, somebody goes over there and pretends to be something that they're not, and then calls, John over there or whatnot, because they all believe that John has no game, right? So, of course, John falls for it, and he's like, yeah, as a matter of fact, Bill, you should be my assistant. Now, Bill is like, bro, ain't nobody gonna believe I'm your assistant. And he was like, as a matter of fact, they will, because you're overdressed and you always trying to overachieve. So you would definitely play this part well. So anyhow, Bill is like, okay, cool. I'll go over there. Once I set it up for you, I'll call you over. And I'm like, this is not going to go well. It's not going to go the way that John thinks it's going to go. So Bill gets up. He goes over to the young lady. He introduces himself or whatnot by asking her name, telling him who he is. And you can tell off bat that she obviously finds him attractive or whatnot, because her body language says it all. So, of course, they sit down, and, of course, Tom is sitting over there, and he was like, oh, man, they touching each other. And now John is sitting over there like, no, they're not doing that. I love Bill. I love Bill. So now she's touching him, and he's touching her. Now, all of a sudden, his language has changed because he's like, I hate Bill. So I was like, I already told you, Playboy, this is not going to work out the way you thought it was going to work. So now all of a sudden, John wants to get up and handle this situation like a man and go over there and represent himself. I mean, instead of playing this game, right? So when he gets over there, he starts to clown Bill or whatnot. Now, Bill is feeling some type of way because he's feeling like, hey, man, I was doing you a favor. And I'm like, really, bro? You were... It didn't look like you were doing him a favor, right? So anyhow, he was like, look, man, I appreciate you coming over here. You can go ahead and sit down and whatnot. I got this. Now, old girl Tasha conveys to John that his assistant is very charming. And I was like, uh-oh. Like, she's definitely going to give him something. I don't know if it's the digits or whatever it is. He's definitely going to get it. So anyhow, from there, Bill then returns back to his seat. And, John goes on, with his lies, right? Telling her that he's a millionaire. He works in crypto and all of this good stuff. And she was like, oh, okay. So, as he's conversing and whatnot with, old girl or whatnot, he's not even aware of his surroundings. He's sitting over here talking when old girl Lydia shows up for work. She's putting her purse off to the side, and it takes Bill to come over to allow this man to get himself together and build up the strength to turn around and see Lydia right behind him. Now, initially when she comes in, she's not really focused on anything, but as she's sitting there, she's turning around, she sees his head from the back, and she was like, heck no. When you saw that neck roll, I was like, dang. So Bill is like, look, man, look behind you, bro. So, it's just a bad situation. Tasha is sitting over here talking about, is everything all right? Noticing that he's pulling on his neck or whatnot, but it's not going to work, Playboy. So Lydia then goes over. Bill is trying to calm the situation down, talking about, oh, I didn't know you had to work today or whatnot. Word on the street, you're not going to be here. Woo, woo, woo. She conveys to him that, hey, I was not supposed to come in, but I had, a coworker that had an emergency or whatnot, so I showed up. So I was like, dang, like you were almost in the clear. You were almost in the clear, Playboy. So anyhow, she then turns to old girl because old girl is like, look, I'm about to get up out of here. She was like, no, you're not going nowhere. As a matter of fact, you about to get unalived. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Why are you threatening old girl? Old girl didn't have anything to do with this, all right? So allow Tasha to go on about her business, which she does, and Bill makes sure that she gets out safely, as John has stated, but he also makes sure to collect those digits because he's not going to miss out on this opportunity. So anyhow, back at the bar, we see Lydia and John having this conversation. So first and foremost, she wants to know, why in the world are you picking up women at my place of employment? Like, I'm going to be here, right? And he was like, look, Lydia, it was nice while we had it, but something isn't right. I don't want to be with you. Woo, woo, woo. And she tells him, like, look, you got that little messed up hoodie on, your shoes are raggedy. I was like, what this got to go? What this got to do? What it got to do with anything, right? So he was like, look, this isn't going anywhere. So then, she was like, okay, why don't you come over to my crib tonight and, I can get you right. And I was like, that's tempting. But he tells her real quick, no, it was good, but you're a little crazy. Now, as I stated before, those be the ones. But no, go on and let her go. You did good, bro. You did good. Now, I just feel like he gonna end up in that predicament again. I guess we'll talk about that at a later date. So anyhow, she goes on to tell him that what he's doing is pretty unattractive, like all this, sneaking behind the back, being, untruthful and all of these good things. And I'm like, where is this coming from, right? So, of course, he tells her, like, look, it should be nothing else between us. She absolutely agrees. And then she goes on about her business by doing her business by asking this brother, does he want a drink or something? Now, he turns around and says, is it on the house? And, of course, he looks at him like, what? Like, for real, you just dumped me and told me that we not together, and then you have the audacity to sit over here and ask me if it's on the house. Man, move on about your business, and not in those words, right? So anyhow, while the fellas are sitting over there laughing and whatnot at John and going in on his situation that was going down, here comes Greg coming into the building. So of course he's there to check in on Mike because he's heard he's out of rehab for the moment. So he comes in just checking in on him. And of course John, feeling some type of way at this moment, is sitting there asking all of these daggone questions, asking about, the divorce. No, I think that was Tom that was asking about the divorce and whatnot. And he tells him, look, man, it's a divorce. How you think I'm doing? I'm doing better. So anyhow, from there, John wants to know, how's everything going with old girl, talking about his friend. Now, of course, Greg is sitting over here talking about, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, the one, the switcheroo. You know what I'm saying? And you know about her. And he was like, look, man, all I can tell you is that she assisted me with, moving into my apartment and whatnot. And that's pretty much what it is. So now, as the conversation progresses, Bill is over here trying to encourage, John to dead the conversation because he could tell that this is going nowhere. Now, of course, John is like, look, man, I'm just asking questions. That's it. But obviously, Greg is feeling some type of way about the situation. He tells them, like, look, man, I was just coming over here to holler at Mike to see how he was doing, and I'm about to get up out of here. But before he leaves, Mike is like, hey, bro, can you take me home? So they leave together. And then Tom tells them that he has to go because he has a busy day tomorrow as well. So that just leaves John and Bill. So they decide to go over to the bar and continue their conversation and have a few shots along the way. So anyhow, as they're sitting at the bar, Bill is like, look, man, Mike must be crazy. Now, John is like, no, he's not crazy. He was just on, the drugs or whatnot. And he was like, no, I'm not talking about the overdose. I'm talking about how he wants to spend time with Pam or whatnot. Why he want to spend so much time with his woman. And I'm like, why not? Like, there comes a time and place, like in everybody's life, man, woman, like, if I'm with my significant other, I want to be with my significant other. If I need to send the kids somewhere else, I want to spend time with my significant other, right? Because she can give me what I need when I need it. And vice versa on the other side, right? Now, for some reason, marriage has left a bad taste in Bill's mouth and whatnot. And even John brings that up. Like, marriage really did something to him, right? Now, he's telling him that he would never, ever, ever, ever get married ever again. And John tells him the same thing, that he will never get married either. Now, Bill is like, no, bro, we're not the same. Because the reason that you're not able to get married is because you can't find a woman that's sane enough to marry you. Now, if you want to go out and get you somebody with a little tick, then you can find those all day, every day. But unfortunately, that's not what you're looking for. So anyhow, while he's having this conversation with John, old boy's phone is blowing up. So I'm like, okay, is that Tasha? Because he been texting the whole time. And then finally he gets that beep that tells him, hey man, go on and meet me somewhere. So obviously he tells John that he got to get up out because he done talked up some, some So anyhow, he was like, man, you don't have to go nowhere. And I was like, why are you hating? John, let that dude go, bro. So anyhow, he leaves. And John is left there talking about, hey man, can I have another shot? And I'm sitting over here like, bro, you definitely need to go home. This is not a good look. Definitely if you trying to find you somebody, right? So anyhow, from there, we now head over to Bill's crib where we see a young lady coming into his spot. And I was like, daggone, who is that? And it just so happens to be Claudia. Now, we already know her background, who she's married to or whatnot. So I was like, I don't know about this one, but she fine though. She fine. I can forgive him. But so anyhow, Bill is over here trying to have a little conversation, pour a little wine or whatnot. She tugs on him and she was like, let's go ahead and get down to business. And of course, he's like, hey, no conversation, no nothing. She was like, oh yeah, you right. So then she tugs on his shirt, walks him over to the couch, begins to caress him and all that stuff, kiss on him and talk to him and say sweet nothings to him in his ear, whatnot. And I was like, hold on, this is this is not the conversation. Like, how was your day? Or how are you feeling? Like, do you need a massage? Something like that. I mean, we will eventually get there. But no, she don't want any of that. As a matter of fact, she starts to talk about her husband, how he's doing the whole Atlanta scene or whatnot, and he's this gangster. And I was like, look, you blowing my vibe right now. Please don't blow my vibe. Please don't blow my vibe. I'm like, come on, man. So anyhow, long story short, Bill is over here with his eyes closed and whatnot. She got him right where she wants him to be. And she starts to unbuckle that belt buckle or whatnot. And then there's a knock on the door. And of course, Bill jumps up thinking that it's her husband. Claudia is over here laughing at him, talking about he's a scary Negro or whatnot. And he was like, well, is that your husband? She was like, no, he don't know I'm over here. I'm too smooth for that. So I was like, well, who else you getting down with? I'm like, so anyhow, she tells him to go ahead and go to the door because she's mad at him for double booking. And this is my time. This is my bill time. So what you need to do is go to that door and tell that person to go on about their business. They can come back at another time. Right now it's me and you. She tells him she's going to the bed and get naked. I was like, what? For real? So anyhow, she goes over there to the bed or whatnot. He goes to open the door or whatnot. He's thinking it's Tasha, obviously. No, it's Regina. I was like, daggone, bro. Daggone. So Regina comes to the door and she's talking about let me in. He's over there looking in the bedroom and old girl getting ready. And she was like, oh, you got some B off in here. I was like, oh, no, not the B word. Not the B word. And of course, Rich is like, dang, Rich. Bill, that's what happens when you do multiple shows, right? Bill is sitting over here saying, no, don't use that word in my apartment. She was like, oh, you the same old Negro, right? So, of course, long story short, let's go ahead and bypass all of this because the word on the street is directly from Regina's lips is that she's pregnant. Dang. What a way to kill the vibe. Ain't no way he can perform now. Ain't no... So anyhow, man, that's pretty much the end of the episode. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shiznit that's going down, man. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.